I don't, man. I tried getting into Letterkenny, and
Yeah, I tried it. I should probably give it
it's
another
not my
go.
sense of humor, man.
Yeah. I got a beer.
Thank you.
Of course. Nice Mexican beer.
I definitely have to do subtitles for Letterkenny.
Yeah.
Same with Peaky Blinders.
Oh, dude.
Cannot watch those two shows.
I can do without subtitles, but I got to turn it up and it's got to be quiet, and I got to really focus on what they're saying.
Yeah. Well, see, I always mishear that, like, Irish slang or, accent.
Yeah.
Like,
There's a lot.
What did he say?
I think if you watch them more without the subtitles, you start to like pick up on it and understand it a little better.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's how when I first watched it, I watched it without subtitles, but really I missed a lot of key details.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I could hear, but I couldn't understand what they were saying. So I'm like, I need, at least with the subtitles, like, okay. That's what
you got it. Yeah. So, welcome to episode 2, guys. We just started, kicking it. Got a beer going. Got a little bit of whiskey going.
You know what? I actually, it's October. In honor of spooky season, I am taking a break on the whiskey, and I'm drinking red wine all month.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Welcome to Culture Copia, the podcast where we discuss all things pop culture, from the movies and games we loved as a kid to new releases and everything in between, and just about anything else that pops in our heads. Rob, Greg, you guys ready?
I'm ready.
Let's do it.
So, guys, today we're going to be talking about horror films. Horror. That's going to be covering cinematography. Greg's going to be covering Insane Clown Posse for the music.
Yep.
And I'm going to be covering Bioshock, one of my all-time favorite games. If you guys look up there, the big songbird from Bioshock 3, and then I've also got the Big Daddy from Bioshock.
Some artwork.
Technically, that's from Bioshock 2.
Artwork behind you there,
and then
too.
some artwork behind there. Huge, but yeah, I come to find out the first Bioshock game that came out had a collector's edition, and it's worth like a shit ton of money because they didn't make too many of them, and a bunch of them got broken or something, I think is what it was. But I ended up buying 2 of the collector's editions, so I'm a huge Bioshock fan. So what we're gonna do? Let's roll. Let's see who's going first. Okay, guys. So we're rolling a dice. Whoever scores the highest goes first. Matt got a 1, so he's going last.
All right, let's see.
Good.
4.
Okay, I got to beat a 4 to go first.
I can't see.
6. All right, so I'm up first with Greg second. Matt's going to wrap it up with horror film cinematography, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so Bioshock. Bioshock is a first-person shooter video game that came out probably 20 years ago now, if I had to think. Anyway, you are the what's considered your name is Jack, right? And the game starts out, and you're on a plane somewhere over the Atlantic, and your plane crashes in the middle of the Atlantic, and it just so happens you crash land next to a city called Rapture. Rapture was created back in the 1950s by a guy named Andrew Ryan. Andrew Ryan, it's in the 50s, post-war. You've got all this industrial, all this development. They could talk about the baby boomers from the 1950s. I mean, it was just like America's like pinnacle moment, right?
Yeah.
Right after the war.
Okay.
Andrew Ryan was this like billionaire. I think he was like an oil guy or something. Anyway, he could not stand like man's laws and ethics, and you shouldn't allow morality, or you shouldn't allow empathy or anything to get into the way of like industrial progress in a sense, right?
Okay.
So he founded an underwater city called Rapture, and he recruited the best people all over the world, the best scientists, the best architectures, the best artists, the best everyone in their field,
right?
And invited them to come live in this city. Well, while they're down there, some of the researchers and scientists discovered this sea slug that had never been discovered before, and through processing the sea slug, it gave people certain powers.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Depending on what through genetics and all that.
Right.
So, of course, it ends evolving because there's no real regulation. There's no ethics for science. So they started using what they call plasmids to enhance their capabilities. So, like, you could shoot fire, or you could shoot electricity. My personal favorite was you would shoot a swarm of bees at people.
Okay.
Cover Winkler in bees.
It's freaking hilarious.
You can do it.
Anyway, over time, the use of this new, we call it a drug, starts fucking with these people bad, and they start getting addicted to it. All right, and then the city collapses into like chaos, and you've got the normal citizens now. They're called splicers because they're splicing their DNA, and you have different variations. Your whole mission is to get out of the city. You go down there and you meet up with a guy named Atlas, and Atlas is like, hey, I need your help, friend. If you can help me and my family, I'll get you out of the city. Okay.
Right.
Real quick, I have a personal question about this. Yeah. Tori ever played this with you?
No.
It sounds right up her alley.
Oh, it is. It is. It totally is. And she is so...
It almost sounds like a Stephen King story.
In a sense. Yeah. It's based off... it's got a lot of Ayn Rand.
Okay.
Familiarity in it. Atlas Shrugged. You know, the Atlas is like the main character in it.
Okay.
So there's some...
So they pulled a lot of literary...
Yeah, there's a lot of... there is.
Okay.
And you know what's crazy is I'm not a scholarly type at all. Mm-hmm. But when I started playing it with Tori, she started pointing out this stuff.
Yeah.
And then when I started realizing, like, oh, so this has even more significant meaning in like its story and everything like that, right? So like, there was a lot was put into the story. It wasn't just this.
And she would pick up on that. She's probably the most well-read person I know.
Absolutely. She's the most well-read person I know.
Yeah, for sure.
For what it is.
Yeah.
So.
Sorry, I was just curious.
No, it's all right. So through these audio tapes, you discover that there's a rebellion led by a guy named Frank Fontaine. And Frank Fontaine is like this con artist and this real bad dude, right? Well, he ends up dying, right? And they still think that he's around somewhere, right? Like there's an audio tape. So anyway, you're helping this guy Atlas, and you get to the submarine where his family's at, and it blows up.
Okay. Right.
And Andrew Ryan comes up on an intercom. He says, "You think you can get out of here? You blah blah blah. You can't. Whatever." So then now your Atlas is to get out of the city. We got to take out Andrew Ryan. Okay. So in order to get these powers or this plasma these plasmids that you need to harvest these little sisters, and these little sisters are genetically engineered to go around to the dead bodies and suck out the blood from corpses so that the genetic material that's been harvested from these sea slugs can be recycled. Okay?
Wow.
Well, because there's a huge addiction problem, the Rapture's like, well, we got to have something to protect these little sisters with. So that then they engineer these big daddies, which are like deep sea divers, right? And they're like the Guardians.
And that's those big, like
like right there on the right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the big daddy right there. Okay. Right? Okay, so.
Badass.
The whole point of the game is you have a choice. Okay? You can save the little sisters for less plasmid, for less, less currency, like the currency of the city is like this plasmid stuff, right?
Yeah.
So you could save them, or you could harvest them, which kills them, but you get more. Okay.
Okay.
Now, keep in mind, you got to go through the big daddy to get to the little sister.
Okay.
Right. So, and you have a choice. The big daddy doesn't come after you unless you provoke it.
Okay.
Okay. So throughout the game, you have these choices, and depending on your choices affects the outcome of the game.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Right.
So eventually you end up realizing that, and this game's been out for 20 years, guys. I'm sorry, spoilers if you haven't played the game and you want to. This is like one of the most pivotal video game moments in my personal experience, when it was one of those times where it's had a profound impact on just everything. Okay, so you're helping this dude Atlas, and you go up to, and you finally get a hold of Andrew Ryan, and you've got a golf club in your hand. And Andrew Ryan's like, a man chooses, a slave obeys, right?
Yeah.
And then you club Andrew Ryan over the head with this club and kill him.
Okay.
Well, then Atlas reveals himself. When you think this guy Frank Fontaine has been dead all this time, you realize that Atlas is actually Frank Fontaine.
Okay. Okay.
And he has been using mind control on you with the phrase of "would you kindly." So throughout the game, Atlas was always saying, "Would you kindly go and do this?" And that was like your mission parameter. So when you kill Andrew Ryan, you realize that you've been doing this guy's bidding all this time. Every time he asked you, "Would you kindly?"
Would you kindly?
Yeah.
That was the.
Yes.
Okay.
Wow.
So
very, very like. So yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say very like sci-fi horror.
Yeah.
In a sense of.
Now, mind you, so like one of the first like supervillains that you take on is Dr. Steinman. Okay. And Steinman uses he's trying to make people beautiful, and he ends up mutilating these people, right? Because there's this like need. I'm gonna use this power, and she's gonna be much more, and they end up mutilating. So because there's no ethics,
like a Dr. Frankenstein.
Yeah,
type.
kind of in a way, but like just
trying to make the perfect person.
Yeah.
Interesting. Does this? It's a series, right?
Yeah, there's 3 of them.
There's 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are they related at all to? I just had it in my head. System Shock.
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up. That was the precursor.
Okay.
And the developer, Adam Levine, I think is the guy's name, who did that. Okay. Was responsible for System Shock.
Okay.
Yeah, and then brought it into. And you can see, so I think, I've never played System Shock, but like, you have locks. You can unlock doors or chests and stuff, and the mechanism is like pipes. So it's like you have to control you have an inflow of water coming here, and then it's got to go here, and then you have all of these pipes that you have to put in place to.
Okay.
Right.
I never played System Shock. I had a friend that was like into it back in the day. That's why
I think that's part of the.
That's
game.
why it stuck out in my head because of Bioshock System Shock. Okay.
There was a game on Windows 3.1. I remember that was kind of like that. You had to it was like green slime, but you had to arrange the pipes.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. Real simple. I mean, that was it.
It was, but it was stressful as fuck.
It was because once you started, you had to make sure you had all the pipes in the order because it would flow. You had to stay ahead of it.
Right.
Yeah. Well, because it wasn't like they gave you time to complete the puzzle and then start it. It was just like
it was like a time.
That's
after
it,
like
motherfucker.
5 seconds.
You better have your shit ready.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
what was that? I don't remember.
I forget the actual name of it.
So anyway, you realize that Atlas is Fontaine, and then now your mission is to completely take out Fontaine and escape this hell on earth or hell below the sea kind of city, right? I mean, the city's falling apart. There's leaking. It's just it's a dark. I mean, you have these things called. I think they're called like spider splicers, and they have hooks and they hang from the ceiling, and they they come out of nowhere and they throw these meat hooks at you and shit. Like there's some scary shit in this game. Like
That's crazy.
It's insane, right? And the big daddies are no joke, dude. Like if you're gonna take one on, you got to come correct, right? Like they're gonna fuck you up if you don't, right? You got to be ready.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway.
You can't be any geek off the street.
You got to be handy with the steel, you know what I mean? Or you do, yeah. So throughout the story, you pick up these audio tapes, and you find out that Andrew Ryan had a bastard child with a stripper there in the city. Okay, and then that child is like nowhere. They don't know what happened to him or something, right? Well, throughout the story, you find out that you are that child.
Okay.
And Frank Fontaine genetically engineered you to accelerate your growth. Okay, and obey his commands.
Fucking Frank Fontaine,
Okay,
man.
and then they put you on like the submarine and you escape. You could then get on a plane because you can't just enter. Like I don't know. I haven't quite figured out the reason why that is, but you're on that when the first game first starts out. You're on that plane. You're already under Frank Fontaine's control. That's the whole reason why you're on that plane.
Yeah.
And he crashes the plane knowing that you're going to survive to come down and do his bidding.
Right.
Wow.
Because Andrew Ryan, when you first come in, Andrew Ryan's like, "Who are you with? Are you with the USA or are you with the fucking Bolsheviks or the Russians?"
I was gonna say Russians.
Yeah. So Andrew, and he's got control. So anyway, it was really cool because you could pick up certain things, certain objects from like Big Daddies and stuff, and like go to like vending machines, and then you can like add upgrades, and you can always upgrade your powers. And then so at the end of the game, you end up escaping, and either the little girls who you've saved come out and just destroy Andrew. They have these long syringes, right, and they just come out and just suck him dry. Okay, and then if not, there's like 2 or 3 different endings, and one's like really happy, like they escape with you, I think, kind of thing.
Okay.
And then they go off free and are able to become like normal little girls.
Wow.
Thing, and right, or if you harvest most of your little sisters, it's like really bleak, and you get out into like a nuclear submarine, and like it's like this is what will destroy society, kind of thing.
Jesus.
Yeah. So and then you get into Bioshock 2, and then 3 is a little. They tie it in really well. I could go on for hours and hours and hours with the stories and stuff, but
is it like a complete story? All 3 of them?
So the second one picks up a couple years after 10 years after the first game. And the first game sets place in 1959, 1960, I think.
Oh, okay.
And then the second game takes place in like 1970.
Are there any talks of like a film or series adaptation?
So there was, I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah,
because
so
it sounds like a great fucking story.
There was,
right.
And Gore Verbinski was rumored to be the one to like oversee it. It has been in multiple stages, and then failed.
So would that be a TV show or would it be a movie?
So they first thought it was going to be a movie, and you can actually look up like I forget what they call it, but it's like a fan video of what that movie would look like. And it's pretty legit, dude.
And I love him. It's funny you said Gore Verbinski. Greg and I were just talking about Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
And he directed the first 3.
Okay.
I love him so much. Like, great filmmaker. You ever seen like The Mexican?
With Brad Pitt?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of his too.
So, I mean, like I said, I could move on. The next evil villain in the second game is Sophia Lamb. Mm-hmm. And then God, I played the third one only a couple of times. The third one's not that great, in my opinion. You're in another city called Columbia, and it's actually a city in the sky.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Not in South America?
No. And like District of Columbia.
Right.
Yeah. I think that's the name of the city. It's been a minute since I've played the third one.
Thinking, you did say city. I was thinking country. I think
that is set in like the 1920s, so it does have a really cool kind of like aesthetic to it.
Okay.
All right, and so it's like it's actually like an alternate universe to Bioshock, right?
Right.
Like, and they explain that at the way the third game ends. Like you find out that it's all tied, and I forget. It's kind of a complicated tie-in, but it is all 3. They do tie all 3 in. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So, real quick before we go on our first segment, they're coming out with a 4th one, and I'm really excited about it. Okay.
Hell yeah.
Because it'll be like the first Bioshock game. Well, Tori and I have been together 12 years, and it came out. So about 12 years is when since the third one came out. So I'm really excited for it, and it's rumored that it's going to be open world.
Okay.
And I just read a little bit just today. It might be in like an Antarctic setting.
Okay.
All right.
So I'm really excited to see what they have planned, because especially if they stay true to the feel and aesthetic. And I think it's going to be
I want to keep that in mind, especially going with our theme of horror when I get into my segment about Antarctica.
Yeah.
And why that would actually kind of play into that whole horror theme. So we'll circle back to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you mentioned that. It's kind of cool that they're doing that. So,
so it's going to be pretty cool.
I'm gonna make.
It's been in development for a long time, and they have no gameplay of it. So we don't know what's going on, but it's still in. I hear it's still in development. So
yeah.
So, and before I go, I do want to talk about the big sister in Bioshock 2. Big sister replaces the big daddy. You still have big daddies in Bioshock 2. They're a little more advanced than the first ones. But the big sisters, man, they're fucking bitches, dude. They will fuck you up like bad, like, and it's only, and it only, it's, she keeps the balance, right? So like if you kill or if you harvest or if you save too many little sisters, she like shrieks and like comes at you, and she's like super fast and nimble, and
it's a testament to the power of women. I think.
Dude.
Like, if we have a running theme on this show at all, it's that we definitely, like, we are men who love women.
Oh, I love the ladies. Yes.
Dude, I'm telling you, it's frightening.
And just like it seems to come up almost every episode that, God, dude, like there are countless examples of the testament to the power of women.
What's really cool about the second game, getting into that too, is you play as a big daddy in the second one. Okay. You wake up, you were assassinated, and you wake up, and you
play as one of those big motherfuckers?
Yes. Yeah, you are a big daddy, and that's why.
Yeah, that's the one I want to play.
That's why they had to have that's why they had to have the big sister, because if you're a big daddy, you don't really fear the big daddies. I mean, they're still kind of a pain.
Yeah.
But yeah, the big sister is.
Oh, I am not intimidated at all by other men.
What's really cool about the second one, you said
a woman could tear me down.
Yeah, you said you'd like to play
psychologically.
As the big
daddy.
Yeah. They have a multiplayer game. And your big daddy is randomly selected, and your job is to save like 3 little sisters without dying. And the rest of the people are splicers, and they're there to kill you.
Dude, I gotta check it out
on the online game.
Maybe this is the year.
Dude, you come over. I got all 3.
Maybe Santa Claus will finally bring me an Xbox. I've never had an Xbox before, but I feel like it's finally time. It's time.
Bioshock was.
Come on, Santa Claus.
Bioshock was the first game that I really appreciated the video game world for more than just video games. It's an art, right? And that was the very first game that I'm like, okay, this is art, and it's newest and most. To my opinion, one of the most entertaining medias that man has ever known. Yeah. So I'm gonna wrap it on that. We're looking forward to Bioshock 4, and let me know if you guys are fans of Bioshock. Hit me up. I've got all kinds of cool information.
It sounds like a really fun game.
Yeah. All right, guys. We'll talk to you then.
I can't. Greg's having so much trouble with this microphone right now.
We are still learning as we go along.
Yeah.
Greg's mic is fixed.
So we're sturdy over there now?
Yeah, for now. Okay. For now. It's the mount. They're just cheap.
We'll get there. We're starting a GoFundMe for new equipment.
You're right. Yeah, we're not sponsored yet, So
I know.
that's why if we did my idea with this table, we wouldn't need it because the mics would be actually mounted.
Yeah,
like
that's
on
true.
top, right? You can get the mounts that just.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
We're gonna. We'll need some time, but we're gonna get it all figured out.
Yeah.
So, all right, Greg. Well, I'm excited to hear what you got to say about ICP.
Yeah. ICP. We all know 'em. Most hated band in the world.
I don't know about that. I've known several juggalos in my life.
There's quite a few of us.
Yeah.
But that's their claim to fame. That's what they're known for. But
yeah, of course.
Either way, I've been a fan since like 3rd, 4th grade. That's when I first heard an ICP song.
Which
most appropriate music for a
wonderful start.
It was very appropriate. Well, the funny thing is, like, half the stuff they said went over my head.
Yeah,
you know?
Of course. That's usually how it goes.
But yeah, I've been a fan since then, and even from that early age, I caught on to the message. And there is a message to their whole song, or to their whole catalog. It's a ever-growing story.
Yeah.
Okay. And
which I love that. That's why I love prog rock so much, because it's like people change throughout their lives. And so the fact that that that's their kind of their whole shtick is that like it's this ongoing thing. Yeah, of course, because you're constantly changing, you're constantly growing as a person, even if you're an artist, especially if you're an artist. And it's like even if you're in the public eye, people expect a lot of the same things from you over and over again. And it's like that's just not how life works. Yeah,
you gotta evolve and
Sorry.
go with the time. But either way, to tie in with today's topic, they are considered horrorcore.
Yeah.
Rap. Okay, and if you've heard any of their songs, it's very violent, very vulgar.
Yeah.
But that's just it was set up that way. Okay, they're from Detroit, which if you think about all the Detroit artists that come, Kid Rock, Eminem,
Yep.
like. They're all pretty vulgar. Even like Ted Nugent was, had some controversy around.
Yeah, of course.
So like,
there's a lot of
I think it's just the
violence
area
coming out of there.
And it is. I mean, Detroit is a pretty violent and crime-ridden city.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes sense. The start of that was when Violent J. He's like, it's Violent J and Shaggy 2 Dope. Okay.
Yeah.
Violent J, when he was little, his dad built a haunted house in their basement with sheets and stuff and that was like Violent J, his sister and his brother, that was the thing that they did. They'd go out in the basement and run through this haunted house that their dad built. Okay, and he said like he'd put a tape, like a little cassette tape playing hidden somewhere, like I'm over here. To add to the scary element. Okay, so that's what he grew up with. And I think that's kind of where all this horror rap comes from. And to me, like, I'm not that big of a movie guy, especially horror films. I'm not that big into them. When I was a kid, I loved them. But
you can take a nap during my next segment.
No. But for me, ICP is the horror films for me.
Okay.
They're short little 3-4 minute songs.
You get your horror fix out of ICP songs.
Yeah, I think the ADD plays into that too. Yeah. My attention span. But so, I think that's where it stemmed from. Is just from his childhood, and that, and the clown thing came from just a vision.
You guys ever see Killer Clowns from Outer Space?
Love that fucking movie. Amy loves that movie.
Yeah. So when I had seen that movie before I got into ICP, and they had that very Killer Clowns from Outer Space type feel, like
the whole aesthetic,
the aesthetic, and even one of their songs,
the
Great Malenko, I think, the Great Malenko.
Dude, that's taking me so back,
right? Dude, so like that's like they've got that creepy clown horror, just general aesthetic going for them anyway, and it really shows through their songs.
Oh yeah, that became their shtick.
Yeah,
So, and that's Violent J's thing. It was just a vision, like, okay, we need to set ourselves apart.
Yeah.
Right.
And like back then, like that's when gangster rap was coming out and everybody's saying the same stuff. Like, so they just had to have something that set them apart from everybody else to stand out.
All the violence and vulgarity was just gonna get lost in the
right,
just get drowned out by the sea of violence and vulgarity that was already present. Yeah.
Right.
Right. Well, God, you want to talk about vulgar? Did you hear the rip on Eminem? I guess they had some beef
with with ICP.
Yeah.
Who has
they both did
who has
diss songs.
Eminem not had beef with at this point?
That list
Betty White.
Right. That list is very short.
It was Eminem apparently was like talking shit to them.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
I think it stemmed from like when they were Eminem and ICP were coming up and like doing a club together, and I'm pretty sure something happened. I think it was like had something to do with the bill, like the like Eminem and ICP or ICP and Eminem, like some.
It was
there was a dispute over.
From what I understand, Eminem instigated it though, and Slim Anus was their response.
I remember Slim Anus. So was it like? So it was like a dispute over like who was headlining.
I think pretty much that's what it came down to.
Okay,
it's like
so it was ego.
It was ego.
So it was all about ego.
It was ego, and you got to consider they were probably both in their 20s, or hot-headed, all that.
Okay,
but
But I mean, dude, I've seen multiple interviews with Violent J, dude, and he just comes off as a very intelligent and very articulate person.
Oh, he is, and crazy. Actually, he's a great storyteller.
That's what I've heard too.
If you listen to their song, if you can get over the vulgarity and the F-bombs and all that, and you listen to the story that he's telling, because that's what it is. Every song is pretty much just a story about a character that he made up in his head. He's a great story. And listen to some of his interviews.
Yeah.
And now we got podcasts out there. And I watched one with Violent J and Harlan Williams.
Okay. Yeah.
Harlan Williams
Harlan
podcast.
Williams,
That was a great one. And then I watched the Steve-O one.
Rocket Man? Was that the movie he was in?
Was it Rocket Man? Yeah.
Where he goes they send him to Mars?
Yeah. Because I get that confused with Rocketeer.
The Rocketeer.
That's the one I've seen. The Disney movie.
Yeah. But yeah, he's a great storyteller.
Well, you know my favorite, The Wizard of the Hood.
Yes, absolutely. That's based off of obviously
The Wizard of Oz, but it's such a. Have you listened to The Wizard of the Hood?
I don't think so.
Dude, you gotta listen to that whole album.
Now, see, that started on their first. Now, their main albums are called Joker Cards. That's the main one. Carnival of Carnage, Ringmaster, Riddlebox, Great Malenko, Jekyll Brothers, The Wraith. Okay, those are the main ones. Those are the Joker, and that's the ones that play into their story. Carnival of Carnage, the first one, has a song that had the song Wizard of the Hood.
Okay.
And that was just pretty much, that was the whole story condensed into one song.
Right.
And then later on, that was the early 2000s when they put out the actual album.
The whole album.
Which is great.
Tells the whole story from front to back. Again, obviously very much inspired by The Wizard of Oz, but in a way that only ICP, I think, could tell it.
Right.
Like the Tin Man, instead of wanting a heart, he wants a gun to like hold people up, like stick them up, and shit like that. I think what the Cowardly Lion just wants like some bitches or something.
He wants bitches.
He wants bitches.
And Scarecrow just wanted a homie to smoke with.
He just wants a homie to smoke with. Yeah. That was so great.
So that's the kind of ideas that I have for our Alien cartoon coming up.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, just to give the audience a little feedback, we're wanting to do like a little bit of a cartoon. Yeah. And I'm using AI to generate the characters, okay? Well, one of the characters, I don't know if you noticed, but his backhand is actually his front hand. Right? So he's like this is his
back like flipped around.
Yeah. So his hands are flipped, right?
Damn.
So he's pimps a lot.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Oh, okay.
That's his thing. Like he backhands people.
Nice.
So yeah, I'm gonna make him a little alien pimp. What do you think?
Hell yeah.
I like.
Hell yeah.
That's
With the
great.
power of the backhand. Bitch, where's my money?
But no, I mean, these guys, with this like this creepy clown aesthetic, it really does, like Rob said, like killer clowns from outer space. There's all of this, like, the clown phobia is real, and and it affects so many people, and I think that like it was smart. They kind of played into one of the things that I always think of, like with Kiss, the song Psycho Circus.
Yeah.
And anytime I hear Psycho Circus, like there's a certain point in my mind where I have like the image of like ICP, just because I'm like, that kind of embodies.
And that's the thing too with the face paint. Obviously, that went along with the clown get up, but it's like they're not the only one. Obviously, Kiss did it.
Right.
There's actually numerous bands out there that. That's part of their stage show, is the makeup and that. So they're not the only ones to do that.
Well, I mean, even look at some of the other glam rock, like Dee Snider. Yeah, he doesn't completely cover his face, but with all that like that Mimi Bobek type like eyeshadow and stuff that just
part of your get up.
It does make you stand out.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, look at all the great like metal rock bands right now. That kind of do that. You got Slipknot.
Yeah, of course.
Disturbed.
Yeah.
Rob Zombie.
Yeah.
Back in the day, Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah.
So.
Well, yeah. It's funny you mentioned Ozzy Osbourne, because like that was kind of the point of Black Sabbath. Not to like take away from what we're talking about right now, but I thought about it when you were mentioning, you're not a big like horror movie guy,
right?
And part of that might just be that you don't watch a whole lot of movies because of your attention span.
That has something to do with it.
Like you said, you can focus on a 3-4 minute song.
Right.
But back in the day when Black Sabbath was first starting out, that was kind of their whole shtick was they wanted that feel of a horror film.
Right.
In music.
Right. And and again
that's
with
when
them, like
you got
a lot
songs.
of their albums are stories.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
like songs like
Iron Man was like one song of a whole story.
Exactly. Yeah, no, and just the whole like the lower octave, they drop the the guitar and everything. It gives that feel of like, okay, and then this like these ominous sort of this arrangement and these notes and everything. So
which one is sick now? Is it Shaggy?
Violent J.
Violent J got sick. He's having some heart issues.
He was having heart issues. Had a lot to do with his weight, and depression too. Had a lot to do because that's what he talks about with Steve-O. Was the other podcast that I watched him with. Yeah.
To see him and Steve-O together.
That was actually a really good
dude.
interview.
I mean, Steve-O was in the fucking circus.
That's true.
That's
true.
He went to clown college.
Yeah, he went to clown college. So I that would be really interesting.
That's why Steve-O,
check that out. Yeah.
He asked to be a juggalo in that, and he's like, I went to clown college. But
and I didn't see his show, but I saw some like highlights. He went on tour for a little bit doing like that kind of, and it resembles that Shock like entertainment circus. It had that circus type.
You're talking about Steve-O?
Yeah.
When he did like his stand-up tour?
Yeah,
I seen him.
You saw him, didn't you?
Yeah, I went to see him.
Did you?
Man, it was
a long time ago.
It was a while ago.
Yeah.
Well, he came recently.
But he would do like stunts and everything on stage, right? Like that was.
Yeah, well, he did a lot of stand up, but he ended the show with some stunts.
Okay.
And one of his more famous stunts.
Kind of like a sideshow act.
Yeah. So that's why I wanted to bring that up. Yeah, with the circus, because I think that's where you get that creepy horror, like 'cause that you could almost take that creepy circus and put it in its own like subgenre of horror in a sense, right?
Oh yeah,
because it's got that certain feel to it. And then you ask yourself, why is that? And it has to be like the side shows, like the
anything that's
world's
abnormal.
The abnormal and weird and strange.
Yeah, exactly. Anything that we don't understand and it's hard to explain scientifically, it creates a sense of unease in your mind.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So,
contortionists. That's a great example.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at how many like different like horror films and series there are with things like of people's bodies contorting in different ways, and it's like it's creepy to us because even there's people that can do that in real life, but like seeing it happen, it's just like in your mind you're like scientifically I feel like that's not supposed to happen, and then your body and your mind and everything is like I don't like what's going on right now.
Yeah,
right. Get the goosebumps and I did want to mention, too, to tie in with October and Halloween.
Yeah.
ICP is very famous for their Hallowicked show.
Okay.
Which is usually Halloween night. In Detroit is where they have it. They came, I think, like the 28th of October one year. It was real close. So they kind of did the Hallowicked theme for the show. And it's awesome. But yeah, and they've got numerous songs scattered throughout their catalog about Halloween, and like and up in Detroit they have what's called Devil's Night. Yeah, that's October 30th, the night before Halloween. That's when the heathens go out, and that's when your toilet paper and houses and forking yards and all that stuff. Like, so that's a big thing up there.
How fucking pissed I'd be if I came out and had my yard forked and I'm getting ready to cut the grass. How fucking mad I'd be.
Yeah. But this year is their 30th year.
So did they still do this every single year?
And like we were talking, Violent J is sick. They recently stopped touring.
Yeah.
They separated this year and they're doing their own tours just to kind of do something different.
Yeah.
But after this, they're going to do a goodbye tour.
Okay.
And then they're pretty much done not touring, but they said they'll still do the Hallowicked shows.
Still going to do the Hallowicked
But they've been doing that since like 93.
Wow. That's
every Halloween.
That's a reason to go to Detroit.
For real, I'd go to that.
That would be awesome.
In October, catch a Red Wings.
That's Juggalo Mecca right there.
Catch a Red Wings game.
Okay. Yeah.
And the Hallowicked show.
That would be awesome. If you've never been to an ICP show, it is fun. That's the funnest show I've ever been to, hands down.
I've never liked the Red Wings since back in the fucking, when they were like the dynasty. Fuck them guys, man.
When I was a kid, our neighbors, they would move from Detroit. He was a huge Detroit Red Wings fan. I just remember in the 90s there, Blues were up there in the playoffs, I guess, with the Red Wings.
Every time we get our ass whooped by them.
Every time Red Wings would score, you'd hear the neighbors like yelling their ass and cheering.
I got a cousin who's a big
like
Red Wings fan.
Cheer like, yeah.
I should have worn my Chris Chelios jersey today.
I mean, I ain't got nothing against Detroit personal.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, there's a lot of good talent.
Detroit gave us some pretty awesome cars.
And I'll say this. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. If it's between like Detroit and an East Coast or West Coast team, I'm voting for Detroit every time because it's my West team. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'll give them love, but other than that, man. But yeah.
I did want to kind of just go over just a couple of my favorite songs.
Oh, hell
to tie in with Halloween. My favorite is off a Riddle box called Old Evil Eye.
Okay.
It's actually kind of like their version of Edgar Allan Poe's The Telltale Heart.
Oh, interesting.
Okay.
It's talking about the old man at the end of the street with that big glass eye.
Yeah, okay.
He wants that eye buried in my backyard. So he's killing Old Evil Eye because he wants that eye.
I love the Telltale Heart.
Yeah. And then again with Telltale Heart, his conscience starts to mess with him.
Yeah.
That's like one of my favorite ones.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Toy Box is a big one. That's probably like, other than the Great Malenko stuff.
Yeah, the Great Malenko is probably my favorite song.
The Great Malenko is by far, I would say, the most popular one because that's the one that came out on Disney.
Right.
Disney put that CD out and did not like it.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
ICP actually did a concert in Disney World or Disneyland.
Yeah.
And that got shut down quick because somebody at Disney figured out the lyrics.
Jeez, how did they not know?
Yeah.
Right,
Like, it wasn't
right.
like they were hiding anything.
So somebody did not do their job.
No.
No,
Oh, they're
yeah.
like, oh, clowns and rap.
Right.
That's Disney right
Right.
there. Wow.
My Fun House. That's a fun one.
That one I don't know.
This is off of Ringmaster. It's just rich kids. They don't like rich kids because they grew up poor.
Yeah,
Okay.
So
I know that feeling.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, yeah, I think we
So
all
that's
do.
the story
Well,
of this.
I
like-
know the feeling of being poor going to like a rich school.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And they're talking like
I was poor
trust
going
fund
to a poor
babies,
school,
you know?
Huh?
They're talking like trust fund babies. You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
the
Yeah,
rich
yeah,
kids
absolutely. Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
know it and rub it in your face.
And you know what's
all
funny?
that. And,
Most of some of the like the richest kids that I know are fucking degenerates right now.
Oh,
oh,
yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like I don't know. It's kind of bittersweet.
They don't
Yeah,
learn
being-
consequences in their life.
Right.
Oh, well, okay. We're getting we're getting really
But
like
no, I feel them. I feel them on yeah, you know.
Oh yeah.
Another one off of Ringmaster is House of Mirrors. That's like one of the ending one. That's kind of like the moral of that CD, that song. House of Mirrors, you know, it's just this haunted house, but it's all mirrors.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you walk through, and the mirrors are like a metaphor for like looking into yourself.
I was going to say like the Star Wars thing.
So that's the horror.
That's the whole. That's the
You're-
horror,
the horror
of it.
of
You're
humanity.
walking through, and the mirrors are showing your true self.
self.
Because you're
Yeah,
just
yeah,
looking
yeah.
at yourself.
Right. And so
That's
you're
too-
walking
no.
through, and you're seeing all the evil
Yeah.
that you have inside yourself coming out and being
Yeah.
shown to yourself. And
Yeah.
you know, and
That
I like to think I don't have too much to be afraid of.
right.
I like to think
And
that.
that's
you
that's
know,
kind of the moral of their story is like, if you're a good person, you know it.
Yeah,
And
like,
you don't have to worry about this.
I could probably deal with a little bit of, that I've
their
thought.
songs.
I mean, you thought.
If you could relate to what they're saying in the songs, like, oh yeah, then you're the bad guy.
yeah, like this is my
You know,
jam.
like, right? And that's
is my
kind of how
mantra.
they went
Right.
about it. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
to get to the target audience,
Yeah.
like we have to talk like this, and
Yeah.
you know, the bad people that they're trying to reach
yeah.
aren't going to listen to clean song. You know, they want to hear the F-bombs, and
Yeah,
that's
of
you know,
course,
so that's the route they took. They've got a certain audience that they're really trying to get the message to.
right.
Yeah.
And again, if you're one of those people that can relate
Yeah,
to the songs, then you know you might need to reevaluate some of your
Yeah.
choices.
Yeah.
And,
Well,
and
that kind
stuff
of
like
goes
that.
back to like what we talked about in the beginning of this, with the way that their whole theme is this like long running story.
Right.
And everybody changes, everybody grows, and you know what I mean? Like, you have this continual story in your life, it's like who you are right now doesn't have to be who you are tomorrow.
Exactly.
No,
just keeping it. We were just chit chatting, and I don't know. Am I offbeat? Just being natural.
oh, you're good.
No, okay.
You're good.
We can always cut it.
Here we go.
Yeah. So what were you saying?
Nothing. That was that was done. I'm done.
Guys, I gotta lose some weight.
Yeah.
I gotta lose some weight, man.
Yeah, so do I, dude. Big time.
I try to watch what I eat, and I've been eating a lot of salads lately.
Okay.
And what makes a really good salad dressing? 9th Street Deli at Howard's.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
man. Their tarragon vinaigrette. Oh, it's to die
vinaigrette?
for. To die for. And you
Low
can buy
carb?
it. You can buy it straight from them. They make all their dressings in house. and they will bottle any of them for you and sell them to you. You can take them home and make your own salads. But honestly, when you're feeling lazy, like I am most of the time, and I know you are too, you could just head on down there. And they've got, maybe you're not into salads. They've got plenty of sandwiches, burgers, fries, hot wings, all kinds of appetizers. So much fun too, like hot to hang out there. Good. Yeah, man. Yeah. And again, that buffalo sauce made in house.
Nice.
So good.
Nice.
Dude. So good. Live music every weekend. Weekly sandwich specials, weekly soup specials. Phenomenal place. If you've never had it, definitely try it out. 9th Street Deli at Howard's.
Sweet. I was actually there this last week, dude. It was freaking phenomenal. You all right? Like, you're not getting out of it early, dude. You still got your bits up, man. You coming up next, man. You good? You guys remember the Stay Tuned movie? And it's Dwayne's World. Do you remember that? It was like, I forget who it was, but they were like trapped in like the devil like television, and they would go from show to show. And one of them was Dwayne's World, and it was a spinoff of Wayne's World. Yeah. And Garth's like, chew it back, Wayne, chew it back.
Oh, that went down the wrong pipe.
Anyway, the 9th Street Deli is pretty fucking good. I'd recommend the buffalo chicken. And Matt, I didn't get the salad because, I got to lose weight for a reason. But next time I'm down there, I'm going to get that salad because I like a good vinaigrette on my salad. I really do.
Oh yeah.
Definitely check it out.
Man, I enjoy a good salad.
So, Matt, I'm really interested to hear what you got to say about horror film and cinematography and the meaning and design and all that.
My God. Dude, if I could even get through it, Jesus. All right. Yeah, we're gonna...
And you're like the non-smoker.
Oh, I know, dude. That was... I don't even know what happened there. We're talking about the cinematography of horror. And, God, I might need to take a break.
All right, guys. We'll be right back. All right.
Okay. Whew, I'm better now.
Good?
Yeah. No, I had to drink a little bit of whiskey to clear my throat.
Wash it down.
That's what I get for trying to
a partial hottie time.
You had to drink wine.
You had to drink whiskey to wash your wine down.
Yeah.
Damn, dude.
That's what I get. That's I'm just living my life over here. Don't judge me. All right. All right, so we're going to talk about the cinematography of horror, and I'm actually really excited about this because, like, Greg, I know you're not a huge horror film guy, but you've seen enough of them.
I've seen them, yeah.
And I mean,
like I said, when I was a kid, I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Me and Mom would watch them a lot.
Well, there's so many things. I mean, obviously, story is a big part of it, and acting and all of that. I mean, we talk about that in every fucking film. But there's so many things about making a horror film and like the subtleties and the subconscious and the psychological effect that everything you do in a film, has on the audience. We're talking about like lighting and shadows, for example, having a contrast of those in general in your film, I mean, creates sort of a ominous and foreboding, presence. Right. Just to see it, or even just like dim lighting, it gives you that feeling of isolation and vulnerability, and it brings that feeling out of you, and that anxiety, like going into it, like, that's when your brain's like, what's gonna happen,
Right.
And there's so many good examples of different techniques to use, following along with that. Spotlighting, for example. So this is really just the act of shining a light directly on the villain or the antagonist.
Right.
We see this a lot in like first person like POV shots, where someone's holding a flashlight, maybe there's a dark corner or something.
Right.
Films like Grave Encounters, Paranormal Activity, The Blair Witch Project, those first person point of view,
right?
And it kind of puts you in the eyes of the protagonist, of like you're the one being attacked or haunted, whatever it is.
Right.
Like you're the one walking around holding the flashlight, things like that.
Right.
So obviously, putting the audience in those shoes and showing them that perspective, that's gonna fuck with you a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
We see a lot of saturation, with lighting, mostly red.
Right.
And the red wine I was drinking, it's red is the color of blood.
Right.
It represents anger,
danger.
Yeah. All those things, and it can also create those feelings of unease,
Yeah.
Right.
We see a lot of.
I know when the police lights go on behind me and the red lights start flashing.
Right.
I get a little uneasy.
Right.
The red saturation we see a lot in like A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Right.
Is a great example of that.
That's what first came in my head.
Yeah.
When I thought of red.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and just the red color in general is is a running theme,
Right.
throughout that, especially that first one, man.
Yeah.
Even Freddy's sweater.
You're
The
right. I
red
was gonna
stripes
say, yeah. Mm-hmm.
that really stand out against like the dark green. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's a little rough going back and watching those movies, man.
Yeah, kind of.
'Cause, dude, he's like a fucking like rapist, kind of like.
Yeah.
He is. Oh God, it's rough. I don't know.
Did you ever see the remake that they did with Jackie Earle Haley, the guy that played Rorschach in
No.
The Watchmen? They're pretty good. It was okay. I still prefer the original, and Robert Englund is
I was gonna
Freddy
say,
Krueger.
yeah,
He is Freddy Krueger.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
It's kind of hard to. Remember that? Didn't they do a? Wasn't there a Treehouse of Horror episode of The Simpsons where Groundskeeper Willie was kind of like
Groundskeeper
the,
Willie.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah, it was like the Freddy Krueger
Talking about Halloween, we should cover. That should be a topic for our Halloween episode coming up.
Treehouse of Horror.
Just cover Treehouse of Horrors.
Yeah.
Man. We
I'd be down
Oh,
for
that's
that.
so great. There's so many good ones.
There's so many good ones. So let's. Why don't we just pick an episode?
What,
You know?
every year we'll do a new episode.
No, you pick an episode. You pick an episode, and I'll pick. an
each of us.
episode.
Oh, okay, yeah, of course. I can see
Right.
that.
That'd be fun.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
No, I remember that episode with the.
I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't there also. Didn't he turn? He turned into like a lawnmower, right?
Yeah.
Something.
Well,
Like
it was like a
Lawnmower
bag.
Man?
It was like a bagpipe.
Yeah, that's it.
Tractor thing,
That's
and
what
he
it
like
was.
came
Yeah,
out of
yeah,
the sandbox.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And Bart and Lisa are like trying to keep each other awake.
Awake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so great.
Backlighting is another. We see that sometimes. In my mind, the example that comes to mind is that iconic cover of The Exorcist.
Yeah.
With the priest.
Okay.
That kind of like the silhouette. From being, like just the backlit figure.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say we see that somewhat. I think The Thing is probably another example of that. I kind of that comes to mind too. I think more so in the other sense of like it's like casting shadows.
Yeah.
Is probably we probably see that more and probably a little more effective. And that what I always think of is Nosferatu.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Max Schreck as Count Orlok, going up the steps, and you see that's like that iconic shot
Yeah.
of just seeing his shadow and like
Right.
his hands like with the long claws and everything.
Yeah.
And it's just again one of those things that like I don't even think that some of those old films are that scary.
Nah. The birds.
Yeah, but think
That's
about it
one
though,
that
man.
pops
I
into
mean,
my
we're
head.
desensitized. I mean,
Yeah.
True, but even so, like that shot, that scene, that shadow, that silhouette going up the stairs, like that'll still like you catch me in the right mood, like that'll give
Yeah.
me like chills.
Huh.
yeah.
Like so, even to the point of the fact that we've been so desensitized with all the advancements in like, you know, special effects and everything, like I think that's a testament to like great cinematography.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just seeing something like that and being like, oh, okay, that's still pretty terrifying.
Right.
Even now.
Yeah. So
You know.
on that note, House of a Thousand Corpses has like that Texas Chainsaw Massacre feel.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
so Texas Chainsaw Massacre came out in like the 70s. I had always heard you got to watch it, but my first like exposure to that kind of type of movie was A House of a Thousand Corpses, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So I would argue that it's like Texas Chainsaw Massacre times 100,
Right.
right? Okay.
Yeah.
But then I went back and watched Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and there are some parts in it where I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Like when he picks her up and sticks her on that fucking meat hook while she's still alive.
Yeah.
That was one I was like, damn.
Yeah.
Like, okay. Like,
Yeah.
and imagine, and then I'm like, okay, and this came out in the 70s.
I know. That's what I was gonna say. That was around a time like people hadn't really seen shit like that yet.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It
You
was
know?
like, damn, that's okay. Okay. Now, you know.
Yeah.
And there were some other parts to it too, like the chase scenes and through the
Oh
house
yeah,
stuff.
of course.
Then it was like, oh, run, bitch, run.
He gonna kill.
He gonna get you.
But you know, when you think about like, you know, films like you said, like House of a Thousand Corpses or like the Saw franchise.
Right.
Yeah.
Which they're coming out with 10. Did you 10?
Yeah.
Jeez Louise.
I have my own thoughts on that.
I think I've seen 3
Yeah.
for the first 3. And then after that, I'm like, okay.
Saw the first, I think 5. I was in it a little longer than you. I don't know. We could get into my opinion on Saw, but that's a whole
Dude, they
nother
made
thing.
10 movies because they've been making them money. They don't,
Yeah.
They're just pimping that story
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. All right. Okay, I'll just get into it.
Yeah.
I think had they not made any sequels, if they'd have just left the first movie alone.
Oh, it would have been one of the greatest horror movies of all fucking
Exactly.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Seriously.
my God, like it really would have.
Oh yeah.
If that was just it.
Yeah. If that was it, if they'd have just left it alone, dude, like people would be talking. I mean, people still talk about Saw, but it's in the point of like, oh, there's another Saw movie.
You make a good
Yeah.
point about like they just hammer it down your throat to where like the overall franchise kind of loses its
Yeah.
luster.
It does.
Because I absolutely agree with you. If they would have, dude, arguably one of the best, if not the best horror movie.
Yeah.
Out
At least
there, I
one of the best twist endings.
Absolutely.
Have you seen Saw?
I've seen parts.
Okay.
Parts
Oh,
of
man.
like numerous ones. So like I can't even say.
And I mean that's a, you know, again, I mean, you know, we're talking about, you know, the cinematography. That's another great example of, you know, it's a lot of close-up shots of it's just two guys in a room.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, dude, like it's a testament to what you can do when you really want to make a great film. It's just it's insane.
I'll make an argument that the simpler the story, the simpler the cinematography is,
Oh yeah.
the scarier the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't think of exact examples, but I do remember certain horror stories being simple in nature,
Yeah.
but fucking terrifying.
Well, you know, there is that, but then there's some examples of the flip side of that I'll get into, because I can think of one really good example of something that's not quite so simple, but really, really has an effect. But for now, sticking with the theme of lighting and shadows, underexposure is another trick. But it's one of those things I've seen it done where it just ends up being too dark.
Yeah.
There's certain movies where you watch it and you're like, I can't even see.
Oh yeah.
That could be by design though.
It could.
Right.
You probably, but knowing how to balance that, lighting to get that perfect effect,
right.
That you want is part of that. But like you said, I mean, there are some Halloween, which is probably my favorite horror film.
Yeah. It's
the original.
The originals.
Yeah.
Like 1, 2, and 3 maybe. Like from the 70s, right?
Yeah. It's still the very first one.
I think that is one that becomes. It's simple.
Yeah.
In the sense that.
Again. Yeah,
it's easy to wrap your head around.
Saying.
A guy gets out of a fucking insane asylum and chases fine ass little fucking
Jamie Lee Curtis
around.
It's one of my favorite actresses. Yeah.
That's Michael Myers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that is.
I can always get him and Jason Voorhees.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mixed.
Yeah.
Well, name wise.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of those that film is. I mean, all of the shots like within the houses and things like that, they're very dark. That
they are
underexposure, but that's it's because he's lurking in the shadows, and then you have that reveal. Of like, he's in the light. Oh shit.
Okay. Here's a tidbit of information. Okay, do you guys know how Mike Myers' mask came to be?
I do. I know.
No.
You don't know what it is?
I don't know the story.
I know what it is.
Okay, so they're on a budget, right?
Yep.
And they're like, we got to have this, like, we got to have some kind of scary mask. Mm-hmm. Well, they only had like $12 or something to spend on this mask, so they went to the Halloween store. Well, back around when that time was going around, Star Trek was like the biggest thing going around, and it was off season too, so it wasn't like they were looking for a Halloween mask or something like that during Halloween. It was like in March. Right. So the only mask that they could find was a William Shatner mask.
Captain Kirk.
Captain Kirk. Yeah.
And they painted it white.
And they cut his hair.
Yep. Really?
Yes. Yep. Yes. Wow. And if you see some of the old school like Captain Kirk masks from the day, you're like, oh shit, that's fucking Michael Myers, man.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's great. That is great.
Yeah.
William Shatner.
Yeah, I never look at Michael Myers the same after that.
Probably one of the most used effects as far as lighting goes would be uplighting. So like light from below.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I mean,
you see it in the classic campfire ghost story.
Yeah, the flashlight under the face.
Under the face.
Yeah, exactly. It seems kind of hokey.
Yeah.
They use that in Blair Witch too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, with the whole when she's like the
that famous scene. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and you see it in a lot of the old like monster movies from back in like the 20s and 30s, like Phantom of the Opera, the original Phantom of the Opera, not the Gerard Butler,
right?
Frankenstein, things like that.
So I think it has something to do with perception, and because if you guys ever take a selfie, if you take like a selfie from below, it looks like. Well, I look 500 pounds heavier than what I really am. Okay, but if I take it like up and like at an angle, it gives me
Well,
so I think it's like
psychologically, we're used to seeing lighting from above.
Right.
The sun shines on us from above, overhead lighting, things like that, and casting our shadows downward.
Correct.
Uplighting flips that, casts a shadow upward. And in our brains, recognize that something is off.
Yeah.
Right.
It's also representative of
Satan is coming from the pits of hell.
I was just about to say it's also representative of hellfire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Because, that lighting from below. One of probably my favorite example of this, and I say Halloween is my favorite horror film. If there's a really close second, it's The Shining.
I was going to say, if we're talking cinematography,
yeah,
that is probably the most, the best example of horror.
And that film is my example of the opposite of what you were talking about, where they don't really do it simple.
No, that is not a simple story at all.
But when Jack Torrance is at the bar,
Yes.
and the bar actually has like lighting
Yeah.
under the top of the
Yeah.
bar,
Yeah.
and he's talking to the bartender, who of course we know wasn't even really there.
Right.
But he leans in, and that light is casting a shadow from underneath him, making him kind of look ominous, and and kind of showing us like, oh, okay, like you don't want to. Like, it gives you that kind of creepy feeling.
Fucking nuts.
Yeah, he's losing his mind.
He's losing his mind, man.
I remember being a kid, that's probably middle school.
Yeah.
And laying there in my room, had the lights off, TV on, just watching TV. And The Shining came on. I guess we had cable at that point.
Yeah.
And I just remember that coming on, being like, and just being sucked into it.
Yeah.
Like, and again, like, I think even at that point, I really didn't care too much for horror films.
Yeah.
But for some reason, The Shining just sucked me right. I watched that whole movie just sitting there eating my Twizzlers. Yeah.
Well,
do you guys remember the first horror movie you ever saw?
Yep.
Yeah, I do.
What was it?
Poltergeist.
Okay.
Cujo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. What was yours?
The one that sticks out the most is Nightmare on Elm Street.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but
That's probably that was one of my first ones. But Cujo was
but it's
definitely
funny
first.
you guys mentioned Cujo and what
Poltergeist.
because I remember those as a young child too. Poltergeist wasn't as scary to me. The one part that was scary to me was when that guy's face melted away.
Yeah,
That was the scary part.
It wasn't really scary to me. Well, I remember that it was my first one because I remember being a kid watching that, and I remember my dad going, "Carol-Ann, Carol-Ann."
Well, the clown. That was scary
clown
as
under the
fuck
bed.
too, right?
Well, you know what's funny is, so Poltergeist was the first horror movie I ever watched. Right after that, I watched It.
Oh,
From the one with
Tim Curry.
Yeah, okay.
And you would think that plus like the clown under the bed and Poltergeist. And I do not have a fear of clowns at all.
I don't either.
Yeah. At all.
I didn't find that movie all that scary.
It?
Yeah.
No, but he's
the new ones are better.
But Tim, you think so?
You guys,
and scary wise.
you
How
guys
do you
remember a film called The People Under the Stairs?
Oh, that's one of my favorites.
I remember me and my brother.
Wasn't that
rented
Harry Potter?
The second
Another
one.
episode.
Yeah.
Yes, that is one of Ving Rhames.
That was a weird.
Oh,
Weird.
no, I
It
don't.
was
I never
weird.
saw
It was,
that one.
yeah, so that's a good one where it's like kind of creepy, but it's not really
It's not scary. It's creepy.
But it's like what people living in your house.
It's about so
They
Ving
like live in
Rhames
the
is like
walls.
yeah, they live in the walls and they live in this huge house and these fucking people
Have you
are
guys
nuts.
watched Frogging?
No.
Have you heard of that?
Uh-uh.
It's a documentary series, and it's about that. It's frogging. It's pH. Frogging is apparently like that's the act of like people living in your house without you knowing.
Yeah.
And there's a whole documentary series. Like
Really?
every
Well, that's
episode
what this
is like
and
different.
the kids notice it.
Yeah,
Like
well,
start
the kids,
noticing like people in the.
He
vents.
breaks so like they're breaking into this house.
You know, maybe I have seen
Ving, it's
this.
an old
Ving Rhames.
Ving Rhames, and I forget the young kids. I think the young kid was the black kid in Mighty Ducks.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Not Kenan Thompson.
Not
The
Kenan,
kid
no,
from the first one.
Yeah.
Kenny or whatever his name is.
Yeah, I think
okay.
he was.
I think you're right about that.
I think I am. Okay, and
Okay.
so
Wasn't he also in The Sandlot?
yes,
Is
I
that the
think he
same
was.
kid?
I think it was.
Okay.
Okay, so anyway, it's Ving Rhames and another guy. I forget who the other character
Yeah, I
was,
don't-
but they're gonna break into this house and they break in. Well, the people in there are fucking crazy, and they end up killing them.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
or something.
Okay.
Something happens to the two guys, so the young kid's got to go in.
Yeah, this
And
sounds
he's like
familiar.
moving around in this house, and then he meets this girl, who's the daughter of these crazy fucking people, and like, yeah, dude,
It's just a nuts.
it's strange, it's weird,
Yeah.
but that's a prime example of like a creepy movie, not merely being scary, but having like this kind of like weird vibe to it.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds so familiar. I'm sure I've seen it. I'll have to
Yeah.
rewatch it.
But yeah, so and I'm glad you brought that up because that does bring me back to like introduction to like horror when we were kids, right? Because all the movies that we just recently just like Cujo and Poltergeist and they all came
Nightmare
out.
on Elm Street.
Nightmare on Elm, right around that same time.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, but yeah.
Well, and we see a lot of there's a lot of examples, not just with lighting and shadow, but like camera angles.
Yeah,
Such a big thing. Low angle shots.
I was gonna say that's very menacing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it creates this sense of like vulnerability and helplessness
Mm-hmm.
from this first person point of view. If you're looking at it like, because it gives the villains or the antagonist, killer, whatever you want to call them, an illusion of power. That they're looking over you. In the same sense that a high angle shot onto the protagonist has the opposite effect. That might make them look kind of weak and vulnerable, and
right.
But we see a lot of these low angle shots in Halloween. Looking up at I mean, the most famous, like the movie cover of Michael Myers, he's on the stairs. You're looking up at him.
Yeah.
And even so, the actor that played him was like, what, 6'4"?
I was gonna say he's massive anyway.
Yeah. We see it a lot in Hellraiser. There's a lot of low angle shots of Pinhead, to make him look, and even in Psycho, the original Psycho.
Yeah.
With Alfred Hitchcock, with Norman Bates. I can't think of the actor that played him, but you see that a lot too. Dutch angles. Are you familiar with Dutch angles?
No.
Dutch angle.
So the Dutch angle is it's like the tilted angle. There's a lot of examples of this outside of horror too.
Okay.
12 Monkeys comes to mind. Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Right. Right.
Because it creates an unsettling,
like disorienting.
It's a visual disorientation.
Right.
But we see it a lot in horror too. It was actually it was brought to the public attention in the German silent horror film The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, from 1920, which actually, have you seen the newer Nicolas Cage movie, the Massive Weight of Unbearable Talent, or the Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent?
Yeah, no.
He actually talks about this movie, the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. But the filmmakers in that, that was kind of like what brought that. And I think that's where the Dutch angle title of that comes from, because it was a German film. But I mean, dude, we see it in all kinds of The Evil Dead.
Okay.
Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
Even Scream.
Speaking of, have you seen the new Evil Dead, the newest one?
I have not.
It was pretty good.
Really?
It was gory as fuck. It stayed true to the original as far as the gore goes. It was up there. I mean, on horror factor, I'd probably give it like a 7.
Was that the one that was supposed to be like more comedy or comedic?
Some like the old Evil Deads, especially the third, the Army of Darkness.
I was gonna say that
was very
campy.
Okay, which actually is my favorite.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's many people's favorite.
It's my favorite one.
Or is it Ash?
Yeah.
Ash and the Evil Dead. Yeah.
Ash. Well, that was the series. Ash versus the Evil Dead. Yeah. Army of Darkness is the one. That's where he like goes back in time.
Oh yeah. Okay. I didn't see it.
It's crazy.
I saw the first one and then a long time ago, and then we rewatched the first one not too long ago.
What was that one that was on Netflix? Was it Tucker and Earl?
Oh, Tucker and Dale versus Evil?
Yeah.
Or something?
Yeah. It was more of a comedy.
Yeah. Kind of along those lines of like Army of Darkness.
That was a horror film right up my alley.
Yeah. that kind of like campy comedy horror.
Horror, yeah. That was great.
Shaun of the Dead, that's another good one.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. We see a lot of like, tight framing shots too. I wanted to talk about like open spaces.
Okay.
In films, and that's kind of where I was thinking about like Bioshock. You were talking about the new one, the Antarctica.
Yeah. Because
that open space kind of like generates a feeling of vulnerability.
Yeah.
In people, psychologically, we feel more safe when we're protected by physical
like nowhere
barriers.
to hide.
The Shining is another perfect example of this. A lot of wide angle shots, especially of the exterior. Out in the open, and they're the only people there. It's very barren. You know what I mean? So and you know, there's a lot of staging in that movie too, where things that might seem like, you know, continuity errors are actually intentional.
I was getting ready to say we started watching the new American Horror Story, and I bring it up for two reasons. One, they had a whole season dedicated like to the circus horror genre, and that was really, really good. But this new one is kind of like that. It's called Delicate, and I'm noticing a lot of inconsistencies towards like it's kind of like giving me anxiety in a sense.
It fucks with your head.
Yeah.
Well, with The Shining, the layout of the Lookout Hotel makes no sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It purposely doesn't make sense. You know, there's that shot of, you know, the camera following Danny Torrance on his little big wheel, and he's going through the halls and he's making all these turns, and the point of that scene is to show you like he turns down the hall and he's, you know, goes to the lobby, and then all of a sudden he's in the kitchen, and it's like it almost seems like an ever-chinging layout.
Yeah.
And it's very unsettling to the audience to not know like what you can't pinpoint this blueprint in your head,
right,
of like what this place looks like. It's almost like there's portals that he's going through, you know, and just to that point, like the camera following characters like that, you know, there's creeping camera movements we see a lot, like the slow, deliberate, like tracking shots, subtle panning, things like that. Or like push-ins, you know, to like get close to. Insidious is a great example of that.
Okay.
If you've ever seen it.
Yeah, I've seen it once.
Or The Strangers is another.
Is that the one where they're in the wood, the cabin? Yeah. Okay, I've seen that one.
Insidious, there's a really good shot of Patrick Wilson talking to his mom, and it goes back and forth, and it's slowly panning in and really getting you to focus on what's happening, and it's just leading you into that jump scare, that juxtaposition of motion, the contrast of stillness, and this, you know what I mean,
setting it up
boom,
for,
you know,
for that.
Yeah, it really kind of draws you in. So
yeah,
you know, there's countless examples and so many different, you know, amazing techniques that people employ. And it's really cool when you stop and look at it and pay attention to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. It's time, guys. I know you've been waiting for it, eagerly awaiting. Yep. Matt's top 5. All right, I'm doing. So this is Matt's top 5 horror directors.
Okay.
Since we're talking horror.
Okay.
And I'll be counting down. So we're gonna start off at number 5. We have David Cronenberg. Directed The Fly, Scanners. He's kind of a master of sci-fi horror.
Okay.
And he has a very unique styling.
Okay.
You know, which, you know, I was kind of thinking about him when you were talking about Bioshock and the whole like sci-fi thing. You know, the one with Jeff Goldblum. Yes. Yeah. So there's an
sexiest beast of a man.
Yeah. Number 4, John Carpenter.
Okay.
Halloween.
4. Okay.
The
got
Thing.
the 4th one.
They
Thought
live.
he'd be up there top 2, top 3 for you. I did.
I mean, Halloween is my favorite. They live. Yeah.
That's the one with the wrestler.
Roddy Piper.
Yeah. He's got the glasses.
Yeah.
Okay. The guy at work has been telling me about that movie.
Really?
And actually, they just put it out in the theater because he went to go see it. But yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, John Carpenter. He's definitely one of the original masters of horror, and you know, just an amazing filmmaker in general. Number 3, James Wan, director of Saw, Insidious, The Conjuring. Okay. He was also he wrote and produced like pretty much all of. He's had a hand in every film in each of those series, as well as a lot of other really really good more recent horror films. In my mind, he, as far as the new era goes, like I think he's definitely cemented his place in, among the rest of the masters of horror. Especially for being so young, comparatively speaking. So,
Okay.
Number 2, people are probably gonna crucify me for not making him number 1, but Alfred Hitchcock.
Okay.
Probably. Well, he set the bar.
Yeah.
Psycho, The Birds, Vertigo,
Mm-hmm.
Rear Window. That whole like thriller, mystery, horror. And this is, it's a classic example of all the techniques that I talked about today, and and again, where he kind of set that bar for like, this is what it is to make this type of movie.
Yeah.
Right.
And finally, number 1, and again, this is all my opinion, but Wes Craven.
Okay.
I gotta go Wes Craven.
I was waiting for it. I was like, it's gotta be Wes Craven.
Scream, Nightmare on Elm Street, The Hills Have Eyes, numerous others. In my opinion, again, definitely has found his place among the masters of horror. And when you really look at what he did with, Nightmare and Scream specifically, he redefined the genre. We talked about this a little bit, Rob, you and I, on a previous episode, but taking that kind of that meta approach to to horror films, or even just film in general, but definitely horror. Like he definitely turned everything on its head and showed people like a whole different side of horror film that they had never seen before.
Yeah, I was waiting for it. I was like, it's got to be Wes Craven. And if he's not top 5, you're crazy. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, that's going to wrap it up for episode 2 of season 2. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to have some more content coming, some really fun stuff headed your way, especially for the month of October. So stay tuned. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we will see you on the next episode.
Bye.